All right, so I'm going up, interview folks to the waiting room when you get a chance, and let's have a good race. Welcome. It's just booth time. Well, after an amazing Gold Cup just 1 month ago, the 2024 portion of Season 7 of SNHL Division 1 is ready to come to a close here in Kennewick, Washington for the SNHL Columbia Cup. Hello, everyone. My name is Daryl Kinsey Jr., the voice of the Saturday Night Hydroplane League. Welcome in as we get ready to wrap up race number 4 of the 2024-2025 season. And this season has been all about who can stop Cy Bowen. And right now, the answer is nobody. 2,657 points is an advantage over Tim Johnson. However, the winning streak that Cy Bowen was in when it comes to finals was dashed at Detroit, if you were with us for that last race, where Tyler Sams picked up the win while Cy Bowen had issues in that final. He finished in the 5th spot. The podium of that race was filled out by DJ Miller and Tim Johnson, who wrapped up positions 1 through 3. And as we come into Tri-Cities with qualifying finishing up, well, Carson Kelly, who missed Detroit, was back to his speedy form. He will be on pole tonight. 162.922 miles per hour, picks up 200 points for the effort. However, just behind him, Cy Bowen, the Rockbot, 162.475. So a couple of tenths between Carson Kelly and Cy Bowen as we get ready to race tonight. Qualifying winds were at 7.5 miles per hour, which means it's going to be a windy day here at Kennewick. And just like in real life, that backstretch and high winds can create havoc for these drivers if they are not careful. We'll hear from some of our racers and get ready to race in Heat 1A, which gets started at 7 p.m. So sit tight. Your pre-race interviews coming up next. The final testing session before we get racing here in Kennewick is getting ready to get started now. You can probably hear some of the boats heading back out onto the water right now. We are joined by our national high points leader, Cy Bowen, currently advantages, as we said at the top of the show, 2,657 points. Cy, you've got 7,132 points on the year, but unfortunately, the Detroit final didn't go the way you wanted it to.
No, not at all. We got into it with a little bit of another boat going into turn number 2 and spoiled that one, even though we had a full rooster tail almost on the guy that ended up winning it. So if we didn't get hit there, may have been a little bit different circumstance, but we're going to come into here, again, not very much practice at all. I think I got a couple hours worth and see what we can do.
Yes, and despite that, you didn't take that much of a hit in the points because of how dominant the beginning of the season has been. Just talk about how important it is to have that big of a lead as we now head into the middle portion of the season.
Oh, it's pretty nice. I can come into this race and not really worry about too much. Our speed is there, so I'm not too worried about that. We've been doing good in the heats, getting points, securing it, getting a spot in the final. As long as we can do that every single week, we should end out as the U1 by the end of the season. So I'm not super worried. Even if we miss a race or two, I think we would still be at the top, sitting at where we are right now. It was really nice to be pretty dominant those first 3 races. so we can kind of relax the rest of the season.
Yep. Now we come into Tri-Cities. We know how this backstretch can be when there are high wind conditions. We qualified at 7.5. The winds will only shift lightly between that, around that number. How do you modulate that left foot going down the backstretch? As we see Carson Kelly on the water almost put that boat upside down.
The backstretch isn't necessarily where I'm too worried about. I'm actually feel way more comfortable flying into the wind. Same with that Detroit, flying down that backstretch. I feel way more comfortable into the wind than with the wind. I think my biggest fall is going to be that front stretch. So I don't think I'm going to have the same worries as everybody else will. So I'm not super worried about that. It's just trying to get in points. As long as we can stay consistent, I'm not too worried. We should be able to get in the final and kind of cruise along.
All right, Cy, congratulations on the season so far. You're number 2 on the qualifying board going into tonight. Good luck, and more than likely we'll be speaking again probably multiple times by the time this race is over.
I hope so. Thank you.
Yeah. So Cy Bowen, driver of the Rockbot and your national high points leader, coming into tonight's action, and the qualifying has officially been certified. As we said, we'll go through the remainder of our point scorers. The Miss Coca-Cola of Mickey Washburn, number 3 at a 162.411 miles per hour. Makai Burgess in the U-38 trolley in the 4th spot, 161.987. And rounding out your top 5 will be Tim Johnson, the Miss Tri-Cities, at a 161.891 miles per hour, his fastest speed of record. 6 through 10 now. 6th in qualifying will be the Dream Warrior of Harley Gray, 161.827, his fastest lap. 7th is Scott Witherall in the Miss Castrol GTX, and Scott will look to rebound after a terrible Detroit, as he set a dubious record at Detroit last month. Was the first time in the Gold Cup we saw a driver go 0 for 4 in the qualifying heat. Scott will look to bounce back tonight here at Kennewick. In the 8th spot is Mikey Callaway, the Belltown Hydro, the U64. Picks up 80 points for the effort at a 161.302 miles per hour. And 9th, 161, just a shade over 161 miles per hour, is DJ Miller in DC Presents Deft. And rounding out the top 10, Kellen Washburn. Washburn 3D Race Boats, his fastest lap at 160.780. So about 2 miles per hour separates the top 10. About 4 separates our entire field. But however, as we have seen, qualifying tells one story, racing will tell another. We'll get started at 7 o'clock tonight. We'll sit tight as we get ready for our next interview, which will be with Makai Burgess. So sit tight, and we'll be right back after this. So the national high points are important for a number of reasons, especially here in Division 1, as the top 18 will stay up in the division, while the bottom 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 will step down to Division 2 next year. But there's also a battle for the top 10 in the battle for the All-Star race positions. And Makai Burgess is one of the drivers in one of the hottest battles for the All-Star race. He joins us now, the driver of the U-38 trolley. Makai, you're in the top 10 in 10th right now, but you got a lot of drivers around you that want to grab one of those coveted All-Star spots. How do you manage that going into the second half of the season?
There's a lot of competitive races right now, and we still have a great amount of races to go, and really it's just who wants it more. And it's been a kind of a struggle. So,
well, I think a lot of folks would like to struggle in 10th place right now, the way the season has gone. We've seen some drivers run into some troubles, but you still have an opportunity to really get up the points battle, because as you look at the national high points, you're only less than a heat win behind Callum Washburn for 9th, and then it's a heat win to Scott Garner. The points are still extremely close in that top 10 going into the second half of the season.
Yeah, it's gonna be, going down to the wire, as we approach the last race. So I'm just gonna flow with it and see how we do.
So we're going into Kennewick tonight, as we just saw with Neil Dismang with the high winds. The boats here are prone to getting upside down, especially on the backstretch where the wind is coming at you. How do you manage that going when we get to heat racing?
Just just pray, really. I mean, you just gotta go into it with that sense of, I'm just gonna get to that corner.
Mm-hmm. All right, Mackay. Well, good luck tonight, and hopefully we'll be talking to you at the end with the final heat win.
Yeah, thank you.
That's Mackay Burgess, driver of the U38 trolley, currently sitting 10th in the national high point standings. Behind him in the race for the national, or race for one of the all-star race spots, Mikey Callaway is 66 points back, 86 points back of Mikey Callaway's Jay Sadrowski in the Arctic Cat. So it is extremely close in the battle for these all-star race positions, and really up and down the field. Outside of the race for number 1, we've got Mickey Washburn, who only has 265 points on Scott Przybylski. Przybylski's only got 16 on Harley Gray. So the mistakes are going to be amplified, especially because most of the of the Division 1 field is here tonight. We've got 19 drivers checked in, which means mistakes will be amplified in the battle for the national high point standings. So about 18 minutes until Heat 1A gets underway. We'll have your heat draws soon as we get ready to go racing here in Kennewick. We'll be back. 19 runners have checked in tonight, so the four heats in each flight will be 5 heats of 3 heats of 5 and then 1 heat of 4 to wrap up the flights. Heat 1A has been drawn. Your starters in that heat will be the Mr. Pringles of Scott Przybylski, Mickey Washburn in the Miss Coca-Cola, Carson Kelly in the Seaway Marine, Connor Harnack in the Harnack Motorsports, and Dutch Bros Coffee. Neil Dismang will be your 5. We'll get started in about 7 minutes, so get a snack, get a beverage, and settle in for some Saturday Night Hydroplane League action. Division 1 goes green at the top of the hour. And here we go. Time to turn loose. Heat 1A, 5 unlimited hydroplanes heading out onto the water here at the virtual Kennewick Tri-Cities area up in Washington State, which I like to refer to almost as the Charlotte, North Carolina of hydroplane racing. A lot of inboard powerboat racing goes on in Washington State during the summer, and of course is the home for most of our real H1 Unlimited teams, and now our virtual SNHL Division 1 teams will take to the water. So as we said, here is Carson Kelly in a new version of the U-66 Seaway Marine. Absolutely beautiful. This white and red boat with the blue accents and the American flag there on the small wing as he heads down the front straightaway. Sorry, that's the cowling fin. I know what that's called now. As he heads down the front straightaway here. Beautiful boat for Carson Kelly. Carson currently in the National High Point standings. He's missed a couple of races, so you have to scroll down a little bit further to find Carson than you usually would. He is currently in 21st in the National High Point standings. Do not expect him to stay there. We do expect to see Carson Kelly to go up the standings and stay in Division 1 next season. Here is Neil Dismang, the U92 Dutch Bros Coffee. Neil also having a so-so season. He's currently in the 14th spot starting today. I qualified in the 15th spot, 159.103. Scott Przybylski in the U8 Mr. Pringles, his 1987 throwback. The U8 qualified in the 13th spot, 160.333 miles per hour. But Przybylski currently sitting in the top 5 in the National High Point standings in 4th. So a good season for Przybylski so far. Still looking for that first career win in SNHL. Our game maker, and the reason we're all here tonight, still looking for career win at number 1. That could come tonight. And there is Mickey Washburn, another one of our top 5 runners in points. Qualified in 3rd spot, 162.411 miles per hour, and a beautiful Christmas-themed Coca-Cola. U9 Miss Coca-Cola. And Connor Harnack in the U88 Alpine Stars. This has been a rough season for Connor. He qualified tonight, though, in 19th and last on the field. So Connor looking to get something started tonight. 400 points would do well for him. And Neil Dismang, who we spoke about earlier. So we're now about 12 seconds until the score up. Got Connor there in lane number 2. Lane number 3 is Carson Kelly with speed as we're 2 seconds. 1 second mark, and we're all clean. Neil Dismang's going to get there first from lane number 4 as the fight for lanes begins. And in lane number 1, that is Mickey Washburn, but he's going to get closed down on by Carson Kelly. As Kelly goes over to lane number 1, Przybylski will have lane number 2. Neil Dismang should have the room to go over into 3. And Connor Harnack and Mickey Washburn, they're going to have to go to lanes 4 and 5 as Neil got a little too close to the U8 for comfort. We'll pull it back into lane number 3. As they go to the commitment pin now, it will be Carson Kelly in 1, Scott Przybylski in 2, Neil Dismang in 3. Connor Harnack and Mickey Washburn will be on the outside as we get ready to start Heat 1A. I'll slow down now. We get ready for the second phase of this start. Mickey Washburn's going to continue around turn number 2. Going to try to hit this at speed. He'll have 5 boats to his inside. As Mickey makes a wide arc, now he'll join the rest of the field. Scott Przybylski is the first off of turn number 2. As we are 6 seconds to the start, make that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. And Connor Harnack is just going to be clean If he did not jump, he nailed that start, but he is out there in lane number 4. He's going to have a challenge going into the first turn. And already he's going to get swallowed up by Carson Kelly, who's there on the inside. Kelly takes the lead down the back straightaway in lane number 1. To his outside, he's got Przybylski. Neil Dismang is 4th. He's in the tunnel. Currently on the water in 3rd is the Alpine Stars of Connor Harnack. We will check to see if there's any call by the officials. Right now, no call. So into turn number 2, Carson Kelly leads the way. Behind him is Scott Przybylski and Connor Harnack. They're about 3/4 of a rooster tail behind as we in lap number 1. The Seaway Marine leads the way as Carson Kelly crosses the line, lap number 1, and starts lap number 2. So Przybylski's in 2nd, battling with Harnack. Harnack here in lane number 3, holding tight with that U8, but he's going to lose a couple of boat lengths by virtue of having to take the larger radius through turn number 1, and Harnack did jump. So as official, Connor Harnack did jump, so unfortunately the rough season for the Alpine Stars is going to continue here, but that is to the benefit of Mickey Washburn, who ended up in an outside lane, did not get a good start. Currently in the 4th spot. You ride along with him now, but he is going to end up on the podium at the end of this as long as that boat stays clean. As meanwhile, exiting turn number 2, Carson Kelly, Seaway Marine, got lane number 1 and has led all 3 laps so far. He's extended that lead now to a full rooster tail over Scott Przybylski. Carson, who had one of the most dominant Division II seasons in recent memory, currently has not really run a full season of Division I yet. But if Carson ever has the stars aligned to run a full season, he will be a champion eventually. He still has the speed, and he's showing it here. He started the night with 200 points. He's going to start the first heat with 400 points. So we apologize with the error there with our heat markers, but off of turn number 2, the winner of Heat 1A is going to be Carson Kelly, the U66 Seaway Marine. Scott Przybylski is going to come across 2nd in the Mr. Pringles. Connor Harnack on the water is 3rd, but he will go down the order with that 1-minute penalty. Neil Dismang is going to come across the line. He's going to end up in the 4th spot, and Mickey Washburn will end up in the 3rd spot. So there is your finishing order on the screen. And we will talk to Carson Kelly in a minute as we are off and running here in Kennewick. Sit tight. Carson Kelly picks up the win in Heat 1A. He joins us now. And Carson, that's a way to start the night. You get 200 points in qualifying. You pick up 400 points there in the Heat 1A win.
Yep, good way to start the night. Yeah.
So it's pretty simple there for you out there on the water. Of course, it's not a great position for you in the national high points, but that is not from a lack of trying. You've still got the speed there that we saw in Division II, where you went on a tear to get here to Division I a few years back.
Yeah, haven't been doing much racing due to like sports and wrestling and stuff. And then I'd be wrestling today if it weren't for me breaking my hand. So I'm racing right now in a cast, but still feeling pretty fast. Hopefully I can get a final one tonight.
Well, if you still hold this speed the rest of the night, you definitely will be in position to get that final heat win. Carson, congratulations. Good luck the rest of the night.
Yeah, thank you.
Heat 1B coming up next. Heat 1B, ready to roll. 5 more limited hydroplanes head out onto the water. Here are your starters. How they did in qualifying. We'll start with Mikey Callaway, the U-64 of the Belltown Hydro. Mikey qualified in the 8th spot at 161.302 miles per hour. Also out on the water is Callan Washburn, the U-44 Washburn 3D Race Boats, qualified in the 10th spot at 160.780 miles per hour. Cy Bowen, the U-17 Rockbot, our national high points leader, qualified in position number 2, 162.475 miles per hour. And DJ Miller, DC presents Deft. DJ qualified the U1 in the 9th spot at 161.091 miles per hour. And Tim Johnson, the U50, the Miss Tri-Cities, the glow boat there with that U50. Tim qualified in the 5th spot at 161.891 miles per hour. So those are your 5, and this is a fast heat. A lot of your qualifiers in the top 10 here in this race, which is going to make the start even more important, especially for our higher qualified boats. You don't want to end up on that outside lane. Although, as we saw back in Detroit, Cy Bowen, you could put that boat on Mars to start a race, and he would have the speed to overlap these guys in a heat. But you do not want to be out in Mars. You want to be in lane 1 specifically, or really an inside lane. I'll say 1, 2, or 3 if you can get it. And that's what makes the psychology of this race within a race that we're watching now so important. As Callan Washburn makes his way down the back straightaway, passes the U-17 and the U-1 as we're 2:42 until the start here in Heat 1B. Callan makes his way around turn number 2. He's going to have to reset still a minute before you have to be at the start-finish line to score up. If you're watching us for the first time tonight, we have a new score. We have a new score procedure here in SNHL Division 1. Mirrors what they do in H1 Unlimited, which is at a minute 30. You need to be at the start-finish line to score up. We will then fight for lanes to the backstretch, to the commitment pin, which is the last straightaway buoy before turn number 2. That'll set your lane, and then we will start the race. The only difference between us and H1 is H1 does not have the score up, or it's a similar procedure to what they do in H1. As we fight for the lanes here, as they come around turn number 2. To get ready to start that 1 minute 30 score up. We are 10 seconds away. DJ Miller leading the way as we are 4 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Mark! That is a close score up. And I believe we're all good. Cy Bowen's going to have lane number 2. DJ Miller's in lane number 1. And I think they're going to hold station in the lanes they came across the start-finish line in as they come around turn number 2. Man, Cy Bowen was on that start. And DJ Miller was right there with them in what is a practice, what is technically a practice start as they come down the back straightaway now. And DJ Miller's going to hold tight. He'll stick with lane number 1. Cy Bowen will have lane number 2. Callan Washburn in 3. Tim Johnson's going to be out there in 5. And Callan Washburn will be in lane number 4. So it's Miller, Bowen, Callaway, Washburn, and Johnson, your lane assignments. As you get ready for Heat 1B, 30 seconds until the start. First one on the pedal is going to be Callan Washburn. He's going to try to draw them up early. Looks like everyone else is going to stick to their timing marks as Callan's going to be the first one around turn number 2 at the 12-second mark. As we get ready to start Heat 1B, Callan has to lift his foot. DJ Miller and Cy Bowen are flying to the start as we're at 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. Mark! It's a clean start, and we are rolling in Heat 1B. And it's DJ Miller in lane number 1. It's Cy Bowen in lane number 2. DC presents Deft, and the Rockbot are going to battle heading into turn number 1. Cy Bowen's going to get the whole shot. He'll be down here first, but DJ Miller makes up about an entire rooster tail through turn number 1. He had more boat speed there on the inside. He's going to make this a close race down the back straightaway. To the outside is Mikey Callaway. You can just see him there in the rooster tail. He's in lane number 3. He's got the 3rd spot. He's got a perfect spot to watch this battle as Cy Bowen going to stretch up by a couple of boat lengths into turn number 2 as they make their way through on lap number 1. Bowen, in the U17 Rockbot National High Points leader, he has shown that he can win from any lane you put him in as we start lap number 2 with Bowen leading the way. DJ Miller there to his inside. Bowen will be able to set the lane and hold DJ Miller in there as snug as he wants, as he only has to leave a lane, and he leaves just a lane as you ride with DJ Miller now. DC Presents Deft manages that lane well, manages to hold on to the deficit, exiting the corner, but Cy Bowen, just so much speed, going to extend down the back straightaway here. Behind them, Mikey Callaway is in 3rd. To his outside is the U50, the Miss Tri-Cities of Tim Johnson, trying to close him down, and Callum Washburn there in the tunnel between both of them. It's Callum, he's got Wakes to the right, Wakes to the left, stuck in the middle, gets up on the wake of the Belltown Hydro, but holds on to it. Almost gets into the U50's wakes. That tunnel's going to tighten up, but Washburn holds on. He'll at least be able to get some points from this heat. As meanwhile, up front, Cy Bowen has started the final lap. DJ Miller has jumped to the outside, looking for the clean water. As Cy Bowen now has lane number 1, shorter way around through turn number 1, going to maintain that just over rooster tail advantage between him and DJ Miller. Bowen down the back straightaway, looking for 400 points and to extend what is quickly becoming a near insurmountable national high points lead here with 3 races to go. As Bowen heads into turn number 2, he's got no one around him. 400 points waiting for him on the exit of turn number 2 as he hits the exit pin and heads to the start-finish line. It's going to be Cy Bowen in the U17 Rockbot picking up the win in Heat 1B. DJ Miller is second in DC Presents Deft, picking up 300 points. Mikey Callaway's going to hold on for 3rd in the Belltown Hydro, as Tim Johnson just couldn't get there. Will have to settle for 169 points, and Callum Washburn, he survives the tunnel. He'll take 127 points and 5th on the order. Results are there on the left-hand side of your screen. But a 3-second win for Cy Bowen there in Heat 1B. We'll hear from him next. And Cy Bowen joins us here, the winner of Heat 1B. Cy, this is starting to become a routine trip for you this season. And the one thing that you can say about the U17 is it can win pretty much from any lane at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we came into here again, absolutely no practice, about 2 hours worth, and I got the best of the best, helping me with timing marks. I got Jay, Scott, Mikey, my grandpa. They're a ton of help. They're one of the biggest reasons why we were so dominant last season and dominant this season. So it's really nice to just go out there and be the boat to beat and basically win from any lane.
Yeah, and that teamwork definitely trickles down to everyone else, as Jay Strowski's also had a wonderful season as well in his return to Division One. And you say you've only had 2 hours of practice before the start. I think that might just have to be a part of the ritual at this point with how well you're doing in the point standings.
Yeah, last season we went and put a lot of work into it, tons and tons of hours, and it kind of translated over to this year where we can show up, not really practice at all, and still be the boat to beat, and going out there and winning hopefully just about everything. So it definitely helps.
All right, Cy, congratulations. Good luck the rest of the night.
Thank you.
Heat 1C coming up next. Mute. Halfway home in the first flight, Heat 1C heading out onto the water. We have 5 more limited hydroplanes for you. Here are your starters in Heat 1C. We'll start with Harley Gray, the U-29 Dream Warrior, presented by Lucas Oil. The U-29 qualified in the 6th spot, 161.827 miles per hour. Elijah Smith, the U-94 Chop Tank River Crab and Oyster, also on the water. Elijah qualified in the 16th spot at 159.092 miles per hour. Elijah, another one of our drivers, is having a season not to their expectations. Hopefully tonight can be a turnaround with 3 to go after tonight, all in 2025. And you see the remembrance of Yoda there on the rear wing of that boat. Right along in spirit here in Season 7. Nick Kish, the U-90 Easton Eagle, is next. Nick qualified in the 17th spot at 158.526 miles per hour. Nick is in the danger zone of the National High Point standings. He is currently sitting in the 21st spot with Carson Kelly. Their saving grace, Scott Witherall, unfortunately is here. So it's a battle between those 3, but Levi Colley is not here. And talk around the paddock is Levi Colley will not be here the rest of the season. So that name is going to keep dropping down. And if Carson Kelly and Nick Kish, they start making races, they will be able to put their names above at least Levi and stay into Division 1. Next up is Tyler Sams, U-35 Miss Sam's Cola. Tyler, our winner of the Gold Cup last time out, qualified in the 14th spot at 159.357 miles per hour. And Mekhi Burgess, the U-38 Trolley, qualified number 4 at 161.987 miles per hour. So those are your qualifiers, and on paper, it looks like a Mekhi Burgess versus Harley Gray type of race. However, if you've been watching these broadcasts now for the last 3 years, anything can and anything will happen between now, the start, and the end of this heat. And we may qualify to set the speeds and see where everyone is. But the start is all knowing, and the start is the great equalizer in virtual and real inboard powerboat racing and outboard powerboat racing for that matter as well. You've got to nail your score ups, you got to nail your starts if you want to be successful. As we're under 10 seconds to the 1 minute pin, Tyler Sams is there in lane number 1, but he's going to have the U-38 Trolley with a whole lot of boat speed as we hit the start finish line. It's a good score up, and the U-38 Trolley in lane number 3 got there first. Is going to jet down to turn number 1. Is going to get over into lane number 2. Harley Gray makes the hop. Manages to hold on to it, and Tyler Sams gets washed down and hits a buoy. So the officials will have to look at that and whether or not the U-38 had overlap. But Tyler Sams, his heat is over. Before it even starts, Harley Gray will be out there in lane number 3. Elijah Smith in 4, and 5 will go to Nick Kish. But Mekhi Burgess, an aggressive move to get lane number 1. But did he step over the line? We're going to find out as the officials likely will take a look at that. So your lane assignments will call on the water. Burgess in 1. 2 is Sams. 3 is Gray. 4 will be Smith. And 5 will be Nick Kish. And Sams makes his way around turn number 2. We're going to have Nick Kish there on the outside. They'll hit that exit pin at about 10 seconds. They should be able to keep their foot in it, as the U-38 did not get a good launch. The U-35 and the U-29 did, as we are 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. Mark! It's a clean score up, and Harley Gray crosses the start-finish line first. He leads the way from lane number 3. To his inside, he'll have the Sam's Cola and the U-38 Trolley of Mekhi Burgess. They head into turn number 1, and the U-35 ends up in the tunnel. manages to hold on to it. It's the trolley on the water that has the lead. We will call it on the water. There's no call yet on that contact in the mill. Burgess down the back straightaway now with Harley Gray. They are deck to deck heading towards turn number 2. The Dream Warrior is going to fall back into second as the trolley is going to stretch out, get that lead by about a boat length as they throw it into turn number 2. They've got to leave room in there for Tyler Sams. And I think we saw a splash. I think Sams got spun. Sams hooked to the inside, so his heat is well and truly done now. Meanwhile, to start lap number 2, the trolley leads the way, and Harley Gray in the Dream Warrior holds on to the second spot as they are deck to deck heading into turn number 1. Burgess inside, Gray outside. Gray gonna push out by about a lane. They dodge that buoy that's been knocked into lane number 3 and head down the back straightaway. That U29's got a good boat speed though. Head down the back straightaway. He stays there with about a third of a rooster tail between him and the U38. Burgess trying to maintain. Gray trying to make the pass here. He's got the boat speed on the outside. He needs to have a good turn 2 here to get that drive out on the front stretch to make a race of it here as Gray throws it to the outside to keep the speed up. In this U29, the piston-powered Dream Warrior presented by Lucas Oil. And look at the speed the U29 has as he's reeling in the trolley as we start the final lap. It's the battle between the U38 and the U29. Harley Gray, the Dream Warrior, loses about a boat length at the end of the straightaway. Now he's going to get pushed to the outside by the U38, but he hooks it into lane number 3, keeping the speed up in the U29. That's going to cost him about 2 boat lengths on the exit. Down the back straightaway now. The U29 still battling. The U38 trying to hold on. Mackay trying to win the race and hopefully get a no call by the officials on the contact in the mill. But right now, it's a call on the water. Mackay Burgess has just enough to take the win at Heat 1C as he enters turn number 2. Harley Gray is going to need a Hail Mary throw here. He's not going to get it as we exit turn number 2. Mackay Burgess, the U38 trolley, unofficially going to take the win at Heat 1C. Harley Gray is second. Let's pick up 300 points. Nick Kish goes from 5th to 3rd. A good 225-point pickup for Nick. Elijah Smith's going to be 4th in the Chop Tank River Crab and Oyster. Pick up 169 points. And the Miss Sam's Cola, Tyler Sams, a tough Heat 1C. Across the water, across the finish line in 5th. Unofficial results now on the board. And now we'll wait for the officials to make their call. And we'll sit tight. We'll have an update as soon as one becomes available. And the call was quick. The U38 was dinged with a lane infraction, a 1-minute penalty for Mackay Burgess. And that means your winner of looks like the winner of Heat 1C was going to be Harley Gray, but it looks like Mackay's going into the driver's rep. And we may have a challenge here, so sit tight. Let's get ready to close out Heat 1C. And while we wait for the call from the officials, let's go and take a look at what happened there ourselves. We're going to watch that U38. He's got to have the overlap. There's either a rooster tail or 7 boat lengths. And he should have that overlap on the U29. However, the U35 just gets in there and he crosses over a little too early. And that's to cause that penalty there. We will see what the officials have to say about it. So for now, however, with that lane encroachment penalty, that means the win of Heat 1C goes to Harley Gray in the Dream Warrior. Harley, congratulations. And that was a tightly contested race on the water. What did you see there on the mill from your point of view?
Yeah, it was a pretty tight little battle there I had with Mackay. I saw he moved over in the middle of the corner, and I knew that Tyler hit the buoy, but I didn't know exactly who was at fault there. So I just kind of kept racing as if nothing had happened. But yeah, I was happy with the speed and happy to pick up 400 points and move on to the next one.
Yeah, it's a tough break for Mackay, but his loss is your gain. That's a good pickup in the national high point standings and trying to get into the final here as you're in a pretty big battle with Mickey Washburn for that 4th spot right now.
Yep, trying to score some points tonight to get back up in the high point standings. The last 2 races haven't been great, so it'd be good to score some points and hopefully make the final and put on a good show.
All right, Harley, congratulations. Good luck the rest of the night.
Thanks, Daryl.
So Harley Gray, the driver of the U29, the Dream Warrior, presented by Lucas Oil, picks up the win in Heat 1C. I'm going to see if there's any challenge logged. I don't think there was one, so we'll get ready for Heat 1D. We have if we have an update on when that Connor Harlack decides to challenge that ruling, we'll bring it to you. So sit tight, and we'll get back racing in just a bit. Last race of the first flight, ready to go here in Heat 1D. Let's turn them loose one last time in the first flight. Here are your starters. Only 4 on the water this time. It's a little bit more space for everyone, and knowing this division, they probably won't use it. We'll start with the U19 of Jason Drowski, qualified in the 12th spot at 160.683 miles per hour. Joining him in this heat will be the U31 Mopar of Jeff DeWalt, qualified 18th at 158.203 miles per hour. Scott Garner, U60 A&W Root Beer, also on the water. Scott qualified in the 11th spot at 160.766. And Scott Witherall, the doctor, the Miss Castrol GTX U77, qualified in the 7th spot at 161.380 miles per hour. And for Scott, he is just looking to end a dubious streak, 4 straight heats without points. in Detroit after what was a horrible night for Scott. Here, I think just scoring points in this first heat will be a victory. But 400 points obviously would be sweeter, but any points would be better than the 0 he's batting so far. Or he was batting at Detroit. So we got 4 boats out on the water. The sun's starting to go down here at Kennewick as Jeff DeWalt makes his way down towards turn number 1. Meanwhile, on the back straightaway, we got Jay Sadrowski and Scott Garner setting up for the run to the start-finish line at the 130 mark. So Jeff DeWalt on the backstretch makes his way down to turn number 2. And Scott Witherall is going to join him as well. So Scott keeps his foot in it. He's going to have time to make another lap if he wants it. It looks like he's going to lift out of the gas pedal instead and settle up into lane number 3. So we're about 30 seconds, make that 40 seconds from the score up. Witherall makes his way around the U60. And now they're going to battle for lane position out there on the water. So meanwhile, they're doing that all behind Jay Sadrowski in the House of Color. Now Scott Garner is going to get in the pedal, and at this point I think he's just trying to drag these guys up with them because it's way too early. He's going to have to stay out the pedal. He's pretty much going to have to bring the boat to a stop, I think. Those are 10 seconds to the 1 minute pin. So the minute 30 pin. Now here comes Jay Sadrowski on the inside. He's going to have speed at 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second mark, and that was a crawl of a score up, but Jay Sadrowski is going to be there first. Now they put their foot in it, heading towards turn number 1. And Sadrowski got across the line first. He's going to hold on to lane number 1, heading into turn number 1. And Scott Witherall is in lane number 3. Maybe he will not have the opportunity to get into lane number 2. Scott Garner still there. And Jeff DeWalt's going to be on the outside. I think he's just going to be content with lane number 4. So they'll stay where they cross the start-finish line as they get ready to start Heat 1D. They'll head down to the commitment pin. And now Witherall's going to go over to lane number 2. Garner's going to try to stay in there. Could not make it. He's going to go over to lane number 1. He's going to have to get out there lane number 3. He will. Scott Garner tried to hold on to that lane number 2. Just could not do it. And now we get ready for the second phase of the start. As Sadrowski and Garner will be the first on the pedal, making their way around turn number 2. Witherall's going to have to go out into lane number 3 as Garner believes he had the right to lane number 2. We are 10 seconds to the start of Heat 1D. Last race in the first flight. We're 5 seconds from the start. Make that 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second, mark! And we are underway. Scott Witherall crossed the line first. Did he jump? He did. And that means the boat to the inside. And Witherall, good sport by him. He's just going to let out the pedal. And Jay Sadrowski in the U19 House of Color has the lead. The U60 jumps into lane number 2. He's in second, and Sadrowski already a full rooster tail advantage as we head down the back straightaway. Jeff DeWalt's in third, and Scott Witherall has dropped all the way to the back of the field as the U19 House of Color leads them into turn number 2 for the first of 3. So we got Jay Sadrowski teamed up with Cy Bowen. Both of them worked hard over the last couple of years on these setups, and you see them working to perfection. Now, as U60 got a big bounce behind the U19, that's going to bring him into the clutches of Jeff DeWalt as they head down the front straightaway. Jeff DeWalt looking for the second spot in the Mopar. DeWalt right along with him now on the outside. Garner going to try to push DeWalt to the further outside, make him take a further arc around the corner. And that's going to work out to the tune of about a boat length as the U60 exits turn number 2 in second. But the U31 Mopar hanging in tough, trying to get those 300 points, which could be big for a driver like Jeff DeWalt. We don't see him in a lot of finals. If he could pick up that second, that'd be great for his national high points win, and that would be great for him to play spoiler here tonight by taking points off of a boat that normally would finish in a higher position. But making his way through turn number 2, looking for the white flag, is Jay Sadrowski, the U19 House of Color. Going to take the white flag with 1 lap to go, looking for 400 points. We know his teammates got speed in the rock bot. Jay Sadrowski at times this season has shown that same speed, and he's looking to cash in with 400 points here. Behind him, Scott Garner holds on to that second spot over Jeff DeWalt in the Mopar. Scott Witherall continues around in 4th. By this point, Scott is just going to want those 169 points to say that he got some points from the heat running today. But down the back straightaway, Jay Sadrowski, House of Color, continues to lead. It's over Rooster Tail, and that U19, the Renaissance season continues as he heads into turn number 2, looking for the checkered flag and 400 points in the win in Heat 1D as he hits the exit pin down the front straightaway. Jay Sadrowski, House of Color, going to pick up the win in Heat 1D. Second, going to go to Scott Garner in the A&W Root Beer, picking up 300 points. Jeff DeWalt already came across. He'll pick up the 3rd spot, and Scott Witherall will cross the start-finish line in 4th to pick up 169 points. A big 169 for Scott Witherall. There are your results on the screen, and the first flight is over here in Kennewick. Sit tight, and we will hear from our winner of Heat 1D in a moment. And the first flight of heats is wrapped up with Jay Sadrowski, the U19 House of Color, picks up the win. Jay, we saw your teammate pick up a big win earlier today, and now you bookended with a win of your own.
I wouldn't be where I am without the guys I race with. Sai is a madman, as everybody knows, and he's gotten me better, and it's fun. It's fun again.
Yep, that whole team, you guys have all worked together. You've got your pretty good spot in the standings here. I think you're still under the old names. I can't see it. But still good. Good run in the stand. Oh, you're 9th right now. There, I found it. 9th in the high point standings now, but it's a close run there. With the way things are, you could be probably in the top 5 by the time the night finishes if things go well.
It's a hope, man. I just, at the end of the day, you miss a race. You want to make the top 10 just to make the All-Star race and show out for the sponsors and hang out with the fun times. All-Star race is the most fun time of the year, so that's the goal, is finish top 10 and enjoy the last one.
All right, Jay, congratulations, and good luck the rest of the night.
Thanks, Daryl. Appreciate you, man.
Thanks. First flight of heats is over. Currently, the way things sit, if things ended right now. Carson Kelly, Cy Bowen, Harley Gray, Jay Sadrowski, Mickey Washburn, DJ Miller. That would be your final. First out would be Scott Brisbilski with 330 points, tied with Nick Kish. Mikey Calloway, 305. Tim Johnson, 289 in the 10th spot. Mekhi Burgess, 11th with 267. Meanwhile, Carson Kelly leads the way with a perfect 600 points. And Jeff DeWalt, Scott Garner, Scott Witherall, Connor Harnack, they've got some work to do. As actually we're waiting for the rest of the points to come in with those drivers. They just wrapped up Heat 1D, but Connor Harnack, Callan Washburn, Neil Disbang, 157, 187, 199 points, as well as Tyler Sams on that 199. They've got some work to do in the second flight, which will get started in just a moment. 5 more boats will be heading out onto the water. Sit tight. We'll be racing again in just a moment. So Scott Garner is going to pick up a pair of penalties in that mill. He's going to start with the boxed in violation, and that was that move we saw down the back straightaway during the fight for lanes. Lely took lane 2 after getting boxed in by Scott Witherall and Jay Sadrowski. Illegally scored up in lane 2. He should have been in lane 3, and he also got penalized the illegal cut for entering the infield during that penalty where he drove to the inside of the course. So a double penalty for Scott Garner is going to relegate him to the back of the Heat 1D field. So that should slide Jeff DeWalt up to second and Scott Witherall up to the third spot. And it will, and we'll have Heat 2A in just a bit. Second flight, ready to roll. 5 limited hydroplanes head out onto the water. Here are your starters in Heat 2A, and that'll start with Jay Sadrowski in U19 House of Color, looking for a quick 2 for 2 after taking the win in Heat 1D. He'll start out here in Heat 2A. He's starting on 440 points after qualifying in position number 12. Now the winds here in the second flight, the first flight, the winds were 5.5. We're down to 5 miles per hour now on the wind as we start our second flight. So qualifying winds, which are 7.5. Drivers getting a little bit of a break on the wind here so far. And there's Elijah Smith in the U94 Chop Tank River Crab and Oyster. The U94 qualified 16th, finished third in Heat 1C. He's on 255 points. DJ Miller, DC, presents Deft. Last year's champion, qualified in 9th spot. Was second in Heat 1B. He's on 370 points. And Scott Witherall was also in that Heat 1D. He ends up picking up 225 points after qualifying 7th. He's on 315th points. And looking for more. And rounding out the field, Kellen Washburn finished 5th in Heat 1B after qualifying in position number 10. He's on 187 points. So now in the moving points, the drivers not in the front 6 are desperately trying to make their way up the ladder. The drivers in the top 6 trying to stay at the top of the ladder. Going to make for some interesting strategies and moves here in this second flight of heats. The wind is down, which means you can be a little bit more aggressive with the left foot. But a lot of this is going to come down again to who can get the best starts and who can respect the lanes in the milling period. Already seen a couple of penalties in the mill for lane encroachments. So the officials are watching that. The drivers have to be aware of where they're supposed to be before the start of this race, as we're getting close to that 30-second mark, as DJ Miller and Scott Witherall, they are fighting for track position, and they're going to catch up to Jay Sadrowski, who's brought that boat to a stop in the near the exit pin of turn number 2. Now DJ Miller is going to pull in front. This is, I think, the first time this season we've seen most of the field on the front stretch trolling, because we're now 15 seconds to that 1-minute pin. Now Jay Sadrowski is going to try to get the jump on DJ Miller as we are 6 seconds. Make that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Both of them had to slow it down. Kellen Washburn is going to hit it from lane number 5 with a full head of steam. But it was DJ Miller and the U19 of Jay Sadrowski on the inside. Crawled across the line. DJ Miller gets a better start. And he'll get lane number 1. Jay Sadrowski of lane number 2. And they actually pushed out Elijah Smith out there to lane number 4. Wasn't lane number 3. As they come down the back straightaway to hit the commitment pin, and it's going to be Callum Washburn in 3. 4 and 5 are going to go to Elijah Smith and Scott Witherall. 2 is going to be Jay Sadrowski, and lane number 1, DJ Miller. You can see all 5 boats there. We get ready for the run again, Heat 2A. DJ Miller, Jay Sadrowski could pick up some good points here on the rest of the field and pretty much make that third flight a lot easier for themselves as they come around turn number 2. One of them is going to end this heat with 400 points. As they exit pin, Jay Sadrowski got a good run out there in lane number 2. Scott Witherall also there on the outside got a good run. As there are 5 seconds to the start, make that 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. And we are underway in Heat 2A, and DJ Miller and it's going to be Scott Witherall that had the lead. He got there first, and then it's going to be a triple-decker into turn number 1. Jason Drowsey's going to go to the outside, makes contact with Scott Witherall, holds on to it. He'll have the second spot, but it's DJ Miller in lane number 1 that has the lead down the back straightaway for the first of 3. Nearly deck to deck between the U1 and the U19. Scott Witherall there on the outside, holding tough in the third spot, as on the inside, your defending national high points champion, DJ Miller, has the lead heading into turn number 1. To his outside, though, he's got Jade Sadrowski, he's got Scott Witherall. They're falling back a little bit. 4th and 5th, Kellen Washburn and Elijah Smith. But we'll start lap number 2. And DC Presents Deft leads the way. Miller on the inside managed to get the good start twice and now has half a Rooster Tail advantage. But the U19 is not going away. The House of Color on the outside makes his way around turn number 1. We'll see what the advantage is on the exit of this camera. Now it's a full Rooster Tail between him and the U1. So Zadrowski now, he's in a spot where he's got to ask the question, does he want to be more aggressive, still battle for this lead, or is he going to take the points? Because if he makes a mistake, Scott Witherall will be there to capitalize. So heading to turn number 2, DC Presents Deft. DJ Miller has the lead. Good exit through turn number 2 by the U19, but was not enough as we get ready to start the final lap with DC Presents Deft leading the way from House of Color and Castrol GTX. Kellen Washburn in Washburn 3D Race Boats and Elijah Smith in the U94 round out the field as they make their way through turn number 1. The Chop Tank River Crab and Oyster in 4th, and 5th is the Washburn 3D Race Boats. But down the back straightaway goes DJ Miller. DC Presents Deft won the duel between himself and the U19 in the mill to get lane number 1. Manages to get a great start and is going to take it through all 3 laps to pick up 400 points as he exits turn number 2. As he comes down the start-finish line, and the second flight of heats opens with a win by DJ Miller, and DC Presents Deft. Scott Witherall in the Castrol GTX is second. Elijah Smith in Chop Tank River Crab and Oyster is third. The Washburn 3D Race Boats of Kellen Washburn is going to come across the line. He'll pick up 4th. We are missing a boat. And it looks like Scott Witherall got a buoy there at the end. So he drops down to the 5th spot. Unfortunate for Witherall. But that moves Elijah Smith up to 3rd, Kellen Washburn to 4th. So the win goes to DJ Miller. We'll talk to him in a moment. Here's me. DJ Miller picks up the win in Heat 2A. DJ, there was kind of a duel of fates there between you and Jay Sadrowski there on the mill. There in the minute 30 score up. You were able to beat him there, got lane number 1, and took home the win.
Yeah, that was a pretty fun mill. I think me and Jay went up there early first, and then both kind of went around. And I already kind of knew the timing for being that early, so I wanted to see what other people could do with it. And so I think I kind of just convinced everyone else to get up there early at that exit pin. And I was like, well, if everyone is early, it stands to reason if I'm the earliest, I will get lane 1. So it worked.
Yeah, and that's just some of the gamesmanship up here in D1 that you sometimes don't see in D2. A lot of the guys trying to play the clock and try to pull folks up there early. How do you stay on your timing marks when other folks are trying to be aggressive?
Well, for me, I felt like I was kind of the one in control of that situation, because when especially when you got the number 1 on your boat, a lot of guys kind of watch what you do and try to cue off you. So I just kind of did my own thing there and was pretty confident with where I was going to end up.
All right, DJ, congratulations, and good luck the rest of the night.
Yep, thank you, Daryl.
So that's DJ Miller, your winner of Heat 2A. Heat 2B underway now. Milling period on, and we've got the U38 trolley of Mekhi Burgess. Qualified in the 4th spot. However, disappointing 5th in Heat 1C after the lane infraction penalty. He's on 267 points. Scott Garner, U60 A&W Root Beer, another one of our drivers that was penalized after starting 11th. Finished last in Heat 1D after a pair of penalties in the mill. He's currently sitting on 219 points. To his inside there is the U17 Rock Bottom National High Points leader of Cy Bowen, sitting on 580 points after his win in Heat 1B. And Tyler Sams and Miss Sam's Cola. Disappointing run for Tyler Sams as well. He was 4th in Heat 1C after qualifying 14th. He's on 199 points. And Carson Kelly, the Seaway Marine, picked up the win in our opening heat of the night after qualifying on the pole. He is on a perfect 600 points. So that is all 5 of your runners. Most of the field there at the entrance of turn number 2. Meanwhile, we saw the U35 trying to pull these guys up early in the Miss Sam's Cola. Unfortunately, that doesn't seem like it's working right now. As now they'll get on the throttle with the U17. He's going to move all the way out to lane number 4 on this run to get the run around the outsides, or 10 seconds until the score up. As they make their way down towards the start-finish line at 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. Mark! Going to be a clean score up in the rock bot with electric start. He's going to get there first, but he's got 3 boats to his inside, and they are within the boundary. He can't move over from lane number 4. But now they're all going to drop the U35, and they almost able to slot over a lane. Something just happened to the U38. I think he just got washed down. I think the U35 got washed down as well. Both of those boats got washed down. So that's going to put Carson Kelly and Cy Bowen in lanes number 1 and 2 in what could be a preview of your final. You're going to get right here in Heat 2B with Kelly on the inside and Bowen on the outside. Scott Garner is going to be in lane number 3. Meanwhile, the trolley and the Miss Sam's Cola will be on the outside. They're going to get it done from lanes number 4 and 5. And Mekhi's going to try to drag everyone up there early. Zim and Tyler Sams go around the outside. They're going to be a couple seconds earlier than the rest of the field as they hit the exit. We're at 8 seconds of the start of Heat 2B. Make that 6 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mark We saw Mekhi Burgess was early. Tyler Sanders came in early as well. That was a discombobulated start as Cy Bowen nearly went for a trip. He manages to hold on to it. Burgess and Sams are early, so your leader in this gaggle of boats is the U17 with the U66 there on the inside. So we'll go 3 times around. Mekhi Burgess leads on the water, but your leader is Cy Bowen in the rock bind, and Cy Bowen almost gets washed down. He goes to the outside. And that's going to draw the U66 in, and the Seaway Marine's going to have the lead briefly. He will take the lead. So Carson Kelly has lead, but now he's got rough water, and that's going to give the lead right back to Cy Bowen. So my, oh my, this is a battle of a heat because the front two, they're up in front, and there is a lot of dirty water there that the U66 has to make his way through, although he's still trying to battle for the lead. Cy Bowen there, he's on the outside, but he's got the cleaner water. And you can see that working out with this race right now. Cy Bowen is now stretched out that advantage to rooster tail between him and the Seaway Marine. And this has just been Cy Bowen's season in a nutshell. Sometimes you're lucky, sometimes you're good. And Cy has had both on his side this season, as now the U66 has had to give up the ghost. And actually, I think that U66 has now gone over. As we start the final lap, Cy Bowen has the lead. Carson Kelly is out of this race now. So now it is Cy Bowen in first on the water by virtue of the jump starts in front of him. Scott Garner, though, is the one that's going to rally back. He only got 169 points in his first heat. He's going to get 300 here. So this is great for Cy Bowen, great for Scott Garner, not great for Carson Kelly as he's out, and definitely not great for Tyler Sams or Mekhi Burgess as their tough nights continue. But for Cy Bowen, it is a dominant national high points. We don't want to say it early, so we're going to say national high points leader type of night for Bowen as he exits turn number 2, heads towards the start-finish line, and he's going to pick up the win in Heat 2B. Scott Garner is going to pick up the second spot. As you said, third and fourth will be Mekhi Burgess and Tyler Sams. So after a wild Heat 2B, there are your results. We're going to hear from Cy Bowen in just a minute, but first going to try to find out what in the wild world of sports happened to Carson Kelly. And Carson Kelly, just that bad water on the inside. And he's going to hit a bad wake, and he is going to go on a trip. There he goes. Up and over, lands it, and then flips over a second time. And that was it for Carson Kelly. So Cy Bowen picks up the win. We'll hear from him next. Cy Bowen picks up the win in Heat 2B. And Cy, Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. You've been both this season, but that was a wild heat. You had the 2 gun jumpers in front of you, the rough water while trying to battle with Carson Kelly. That one you really had to work for.
Yeah, I don't know if it was actually working for. It was kind of surviving. I mean, I don't know if maybe they were frustrated because they got washed down or something of the sort, but the only way that they had to make it interesting was jump the gun entirely by a rooster tail and then kind of cut us off and try to shove us into the each other's weights and take away our lane. So that was the only way it was going to get interesting. I mean, that's kind of what you got to do, what you got to expect when you're the guy to beat out there.
Well, it certainly made it interesting up here, but just talk about this season so far. You pick up 400 more points. Has to have been be a dream season right now for you, coming back up to Division 1.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we were dominant in D2. We were coming into the season a little bit skeptical of it all, but obviously we've shown that we are the boat to beat. Everybody out there knows that, especially the guys that try to take us out week in, week out. So, I mean, it's been an incredible season, and obviously couldn't do it without the guys that I worked with, but some people out there making it a little bit more difficult than it has to be.
All right, Cy, congratulations. Good luck the rest of the night.
Appreciate it.
So Heat 2C, ready to roll almost immediately as we are rolling right along here tonight in the SNHL Columbia Cup. This will be your last 5-boat heat of the second flight. And we'll start with on the water. Mickey Washburn in the U9 Miss Coca-Cola. Mickey qualified in the 3rd spot, finished 3rd in Heat 1A. He's on 385 points. And Scott Przybilski in the U8 Mr. Pringles qualified 13th, but did not let that stop him. He was 2nd in our first heat of the night. He's on 330 points. And up front, you've got Harley Gray, the U29 Dream Warrior, presented by Lucas Oil, qualified in the 6th spot, then won Heat 1C. He's on 500 points. And behind him is the Miss Tri-Cities, Tim Johnson, qualified in the 5th spot, was 4th in Heat 1B. He's on 289 points. And running out the field will be Scott Przybilski, the game maker, U8, qualified in 13th spot, finished 2nd in Heat 1A. He's on 330 points. So that is your field here in Heat 2C, and it's getting a bit snippy out there with the contact sports. I think a lot of racers are feeling the frustration of the night. They're feeling the need for points heading into the second half of the season, and it's all combining to create an entertaining race for us, but also is creating some hot tempers as we go into the second half of heats for the night. I think the good thing for those that are feeling the pressure is it's only one more heat tonight, but if you're looking for points, you definitely are not feeling it. You're not feeling great right now because there's only that one more chance to get points. However, if you've been struggling tonight, well, you don't think you're going to get those points, well, there's just one more heat before you can pack it up and head on out to Seattle. So that's where we are with 2:20 until the 1-minute pin. You can see Harley Grace sitting there at the exit of towards the entrance of turn number 2. He's trying to keep up with Mickey Washburn, who's there to his outside. Those are a pair of piston boats there. Don't let the cowlings confuse you. As they come around turn number 2, the U50s are on the inside. The Miss Tri-Cities of Tim Johnson. As they're now all lined up on the front straightaway. Close to the 10-second mark until the 1-minute pin. They are really early around this corner. So you have to be extremely careful. Those are 5 seconds. Make that 4, 3, 2, 1. mark. Scott Przybylski's going to have to go to the outside, but Harley Gray got a great jump. The only problem is he's out there in lane number 5. But what helps him is everybody else on the inside got held up by the U8 trying to make his way to the exit, and Harley Gray is going to go from lane number 5 all the way to lane number 1. Tim Johnson will be out in lane number 2. Lane number 3 is going to be Mickey Washburn, so they are the big winners from that. The big losers, well, it's Neil Dismang, who just got washed down in the U8 of the Mr. Pringles of Scott Przybylski. He will have to run from lane number 5. So now Gray in 1, Tim Johnson in 2, 3 will go to Mickey Washburn, 4 should go to Neil Dismang, and 5 will go to Scott Przybylski. Now we wait for the second phase of the start here, about 25 seconds to go. They come around, turn number 2, looking for the start. Good run on the inside there by Tim Johnson. He's actually going to have more of a room in there than the U29. Now the U29 pulls up even with 5 seconds to go. Make that 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. It's a good start, and we are underway in Heat 2C, and it was a great start on the inside by the U29 of Harley Gray. Tim Johnson in second, also a good start from him. Mickey Washburn is back in the third spot. Tim Johnson's actually going to be in the lead briefly, heading through turn number 1, but Harley Gray on the inside just too fast, has the shorter way around. He's going to take the lead down the back straightaway. Mickey Washburn is in third, and he is losing touch with the leaders up front already as Tim Johnson and Harley Gray are letting it all hang out for this 400 points as they head down towards turn number 2 for the first of 3. Gray was lifting that right Sponson out of the water. He's going to push Tim Johnson to the outside. Now Johnson gets into the spray. Kicks out in the lane number 3. He's going to lose that lane now to Mickey Washburn, who's now in the tunnel. And that's going to give Gray a rooster tail advantage as we start lap number 2. But behind them, Tim Johnson in second. Now he's got a battle to his inside from Mickey Washburn in third. The Dutch Bros and Mr. Pringles is going to round out the field behind them. He will stay with this battle for a second, however. With Tim Johnson, he has a spot, but he's on the outside, and the U9 jumps into lane number 1, snatches second place away, or does he? Tim Johnson still has it for now, as Mickey Washburn now jumps into lane number 2. Johnson on the outside has just enough to hold on to second for now, as Mickey Washburn trying to make that boat fly, had that right side sponsored out of the water, and Tim Johnson looked like he was in danger of losing second. Is going to hold on to it, at least for now. All this happening in front of Harley Gray is now Tim Johnson not Tim Johnson. Mickey Washburn just got wet. He had to move to the outside. As we start the final lap, it is Harley Gray in the Dream Warrior leading the way. Second is Tim Johnson in the Miss Tri-Cities. Third now is Mickey Washburn in the U9 Miss Coca-Cola, with Scott Przybylski and Neil Dismang rounding out positions 4 and 5. But back up front, it's Harley Gray, the Dream Warrior, wins the battle for the lead and makes his way down the back straightaway. Was in a tough fight with the Miss Tri-Cities and with the Miss Coca-Cola, but it's the Dream Warrior presented by Lucas Oil that's going to come out on top heading into turn number 2. Gray, if he can hold on to this one, is going to go 2 for 2 in wins in the heat to put himself in a great position to get into the front line of the final as Harley Gray comes across start finish line, and he's going to win Heat 2C. Mickey Washburn's going to come across in the third spot. As we said, the Miss Tri-Cities is going to come across in second. Neil Dismang will come across in fifth. In fourth will be the Mr. Pringles. So the field comes across start finish line. There are your winners. Sorry, there's your finish. Sorry. Harley Gray is the winner, and we'll hear from him next. So we do have a penalty in this heat. That's going to go to the U50 of Tim Johnson. He lost the lane. He lost his lane to Harley Grayhing in the turn one, moved out and caused that wash down that put Neil Dismang to the back of the field. So Harley Gray's going to take the win. The U50 Miss Tri-City is going to fall all the way to 5th, and that's going to help out the Miss Coca-Cola and the Mr. Pringles, going to pick up 2nd and 3rd respectively. But joining us now is that winner of Heat 2C, Harley Gray. Harley, first win of the night came by a scorer's decision. This time you get it on the water. So 2 heat wins. It's got to feel good going into the 3rd flight.
Yep, feels great. That was probably one of my best races I think I've ever driven. From a timing and everything just worked out really well. I was able to get the inside lane and Tim made a mistake, got in my rooster tail and couldn't catch me. So,
well, we've seen it already. We've had a second instance of washdown this second flight. It's getting a little chippy out there. We're getting into the midpoint of the season. A lot of guys trying to make something of their season, and I think the gloves are starting to slide off here on the field right now.
Yeah, definitely want to make it to the corner first. I think if you end up behind somebody, you're going to be susceptible to getting held really tight and either getting washed down or ended up hitting a buoy or something. That's the way these races are, because if you get on the outside of somebody, you got to hold them tight in order to have a chance, because the inside is pretty dominant.
All right, Harley, congratulations. Good luck the rest of the night.
Thanks, Daryl.
Heat 2D coming up next. Last race, second flight. Let's see if it'll be calmer with SNHL Division 1 here at the Columbia Cup. We'll have 4 boats in this heat. Should be plenty of space for everybody. But I said that the last time, and we know what happened there. So I don't think we have any reassurances that we are not going to have a barn burner again here in Heat 2D. So let's start out with the field. We've got Jeff DeWalt in the U31 in the Mopar. We just saw him. He was at the bottom part of your picture on 330 points after a second in Heat 1D. An 18th qualifying spot. He's on 330 points. Nick Kish, Easton Eagle, qualified 17th. Was second in Heat 1C. He's also on 330 points. There's Jeff DeWalt. Connor Harnack, the U88 Alpine Stars. Connor has not been a great season for him. Qualified 19th, was 5th in Heat 1A. He's looking to go further in this heat, have any shot at going to the final or being the trailer boat in that 7-boat final later tonight. And Mikey Callaway, the Belltown Hydro, U64, qualifying the 8th spot, finished 3rd in Heat 1B. He's on 305 points. So these are drivers trying to make moves here before we head into the 3rd flight. All of them near the bottom of the order and have to make a big move if they want to be in a battle for the trailer spot. So Nick Kish comes through turn number 2 and makes his way down the front straightaway. Remember, Nick Kish likes to get on the outside, so he should have plenty of water space. But we've had last couple of heats, had some sort of contact in the mill. Will these drivers be able to give each other enough space to get down to turn 1 without a lot of drama? I don't know, because like I said, these drivers trying to make their way up the order. We got Jeff DeWalt 17th, Nick Kish 16th, Mikey Callaway 18th, Connor 19th. These are your bottom 4 drivers in the point standings today. A win would jump them up at table into a spot where they could have an opportunity to get into the final. If the gloves were sliding off, they've been thrown off now. Going into this heat, we will see how far the respect goes to these 4 drivers in the next 2 minutes as the run towards the score-up begins. Mikey Callaway was a little bit late. Jeff DeWalt and Connor Harnack going to try to go around. They should be able to get around him on the outside. There are 10 minutes to the 1 minute, to the score-up. As Connor Harnack's there, he's close to Mikey Callaway. Doesn't need to be that close, and he's out. And Mikey Callaway has to go to the outside. That was just an unforced error by Connor Harnack. He did not need to be that close to Mikey Callaway, and that just cost him, pretty much ends his night. As meanwhile, up front, Jeff DeWalt, Mikey Callaway makes their way around around turn number 1. They're in lanes 1 and 2. Nick Kish going to be in lane number 3, and he's going to try to get a big run around the outside here. As we wrap up under a minute, now DeWalt and Callaway hit the commitment pin. They'll slow it down. They're in lanes 1 and 2. Nick Kish will try to come around them in lane number 3. So now Callaway and DeWalt, they're going to wait for it. Let the river take them around the corner. And now DeWalt's going to be the first on the pedal. They've got to be careful because the Alpine Stars is upside down there on the front stretch. Nick Kish got to run around the outside. Jeff DeWalt did not get a good exit out of turn number 2. Mikey Callaway did, as we are 5 seconds to make that 4, 3, 2, 1. Mark. It's a good start, and Mikey Callaway on the inside of the Belltown Hydro got a great start, and he has the lead with no one around him heading into turn number 1. Behind him, it's going to be a battle between the U31 and the U90. Nick Kish on the outside looking for second place. The U31, rather, of Jeff DeWalt has the spot, and he'll claim it off turn number 1. So it's Callaway leading the way, Jeff DeWalt second, Nick Kish in third. We'll go 3 times around here in the last race of the second flight. Nick Kish in the Easton Eagles race. In the Easton Eagle, it's close there with the Mopar, but he's going to lose a couple of boat lengths on the exit of the corner. It goes out wide, trying to keep the speed up. He's going to drop back to half a Rooster Tail. Meanwhile, up front, the Belltown Hydro's got the lead by a Rooster Tail as we start lap number 2 as we're sliding into a little bit of a boat parade here. But for Mikey Callaway, he could really use these points in the national high point standings and in the run for the final. As he heads into turn number 1, Mikey Callaway near the bottom of the order is going to find himself up near the top when we start the third flight. And we can hold on to this spot for just 2 more laps. We've stretched out now with Jeff DeWalt in second, Nick Kish in third, about a Rooster Tail between all of them as they head down the back straightaway, heading towards turn number 2 with Callaway leading the way. And for Mikey Callaway, currently sitting in 12th, he's 59 points behind Mekhi Burgess in the point standings, looking for 11th. In that fight to be in the All-Star race as we start the final lap. These 400 points are going to go great in helping with that endeavor. As meanwhile, behind him, Jeff DeWalt is in second. Going to pick up some big points to keep himself up in the national high point standings. And Nick Kish in the Easton Eagle going to pick up third with 225 points if they continue to run as they are now. Down the back straightaway, Mikey Callaway, the Belltown Hydro, leads the way about halfway down the back stretch. He's got no one around him, can ease it along around for 400 points now as he hits turn number 2 in this U64. Going to pick up 400 points in the win in Heat 2D. Hits the exit pin now with no one around him. 400 points in front of him. Mikey Callaway, the Belltown Hydro, takes the win in Heat 2D. Jeff DeWalt will be second in the Mopar, and third will be Nick Kish in the Easton Eagle. There are your finishers, and we will hear from Mikey Callaway in a moment. And in the underdog heat, Mikey Callaway comes away with the win in Heat 2D. Mikey, congratulations. But you had a front row seat for what happened there with Connor Harnack. What did you see from your seat?
Yeah, honestly, I'm not too sure what happened there. I felt the collision. But I knew I had a good start, so I just kept my foot in it and kept going. Yeah, I don't have too much more information on what happened.
Well, it's unfortunate for Connor, but Mikey, those 400 points really turned your outlook of the night around. You went from near the bottom of the order to 5th. You are currently in the final the way things sit. That is how 400 points can really change your night when you get the right heat in the right circumstance.
Absolutely. Yeah, looking forward to my next heat. I think I can pull a similar result and hopefully make the final as well.
All right, Mikey, congratulations. Hopefully we'll see you in the final.
Awesome, thank you.
Third flight of heats coming up next. The winds further die down here in Kennewick, down to 4.5 miles per hour as we start the final flight of the evening. Start with Heat 3A. Connor Harnack, 157 points. Quite simple. He's running for pride. And at U88, finished 5th in Heat 1A, qualified last on the field, did not start Heat 2D, and for Connor, a rough season continues for that U88. Meanwhile, on the outside, Harley Gray, he is in second. He is in a solid spot to make the final. A good finish here. A win will pretty much guarantee that he's in. But a top half finish should be more than enough to see that U29 fight for another overall race win. Scott Garner, U60 A&W Root Beer, currently in the 9th spot. Scott qualified in the 11th spot, was 4th in Heat 1D, 2nd in Heat 2B on 519 points. A top half finish should be enough, but he's going to need some help the rest of the night to make sure that he stays up there. Actually, Scott Garner is 11th, so he's going to need that top half finish and help to stay in the final. And Mickey Washburn, the U9, qualified 3rd, has a 2nd and a 3rd for 685 points. That is good enough for a 6th spot. He would be the last boat on the front line. Another podium finish is what he needs to lock himself into that final. A win would automatically put him in the final. And Scott Witherall, the doctor. Scott, it's been better as he scored some points tonight. 3rd in Heat 1D, unfortunately 5th in Heat 2A after qualifying 7th. He's on 442 points. He needs to win to get into the trailer spot, but he needs a lot of help after that. So that is your field here for Heat 3A. A couple of drivers with an opportunity to lock themselves into the final. The rest of this field, they're trying to get into the Connie. They need help. It would start with the U9 and the U29 running into issues in the next 2 minutes and 3 laps. So Washburn makes his way around turn number 2. Gonna hit that exit pin about 153, so he's got to wait a little bit. The field coming up behind him. They're about 15 seconds before the score up. And they're all gone at the same time. Watch the U29 around the outside. There are 5 seconds to go. Make that 4, 3, 2, 1. Mark. Good score up. And for the second time, it's Harley Gray who's going to hit it with speed. Can he, for the second time, get over into lane number 1? I don't think he'll have the same opportunity this time. And no, he will not. They will get close. Scott Witherall's going to jump out into lane number 5. As everyone just compressed there, that's going to give the U29 lane number 4. But the U9 of Mickey Washburn is going to hold lane number 1. The Alpine Stars, the Connor Harnack's in 2. The U60 is in 3, and the U29 is in 4. And now they will line up. Getting ready for the second phase of this start here. 30 seconds to go. Who's going to get the best jump on them? Who's going to get the best jump on the field? It looks like that 29 is going to get her way first, but look at Scott Witherall with a lot of boat speed to the outside. Almost gets that outer course marker. Manages to bring it back in as Mickey Washburn's going to be the first around turn number 2. So we're 7 seconds into the start. Make that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mark. Scott Witherall jumped the start. I think Connor Harnack did too. And yes, they did. The first 2 up front jumped the start. So it is the U29 that is leading the race. That orange boat to the outside of your picture has the lead. But Harley Gray has it. The U9 wants to take it away, but he got into the spray of the U88. And it's going to be Harley Gray that leads the race heading down the back straightaway. Mickey Washburn is there, is on the inside. There you see him now on the picture. They've got the 88 pretty much running like a wall there between the 2 drivers, running for the win. And it's almost deck to deck. And it's going to be Mickey Washburn there in lane number 1. It's going to take the lead away. So Washburn has the lead on the water, or has the lead officially. The U88 has the lead on the water, but it looks like Mickey Washburn may be able to get both leads as he heads down the front straightaway, heading towards turn number 1 on lap number 2. Washburn leads the way. Gray is in second. The Alpine Stars there. He is in the 3rd spot. He is at the back of the field from the jump start. And now Mickey Washburn is going to get in front of him. So now Washburn in that U9 Miss Coca-Cola Merry Christmas edition has the lead officially of the race, and the U29 is trapped on the outside as the U88 is pushing him out. And at this point, Harley Gray, as much as he wants that win, he can ride from here and take the win and get second place points and get on the front line of the final. So him and Mickey Washburn at this point, these two can just cruise these next 2.5 miles if they play it smart. As Washburn, the Miss Coca-Cola, leads the way as we start the final lap. Connor Harnack is second on the water, but 5th on the sheet. Harley Gray is second. Scott Witherall 3rd. Scott Garner is in 4th. But back up front, Mickey Washburn currently sitting in the top 5 in points, looking to get to the final and try to pick up a big win. But he's got to complete this straightaway and the next turn to take those 400 points as Mickey Washburn heads down the back straightaway, stretched out that lead to over Rooster Tail and Harley Gray. The Alpine Stars for his part, the U88 is hanging tough right now with the rest of the field as Washburn comes off turn number 2 and is going to win Heat 3A and punch his ticket into the final. Miss Coca-Cola wins Heat 3A. Harley Gray came across for second. No change for Scott Witherall. He's going to be in the 5th spot, as he also jumped the start. So there are your results on the screen. But Mickey Washburn and Harley Gray, by virtue of those by those finishes, going to be our first 2 locked into the final. So Connor Harnack jumped and also had a lane violation in turn 1. So not a great night for Connor Harnack. Mercifully, though, it is now over. He can regroup and head to Seattle. But we're going to hear from the winner of Heat 3A next. Mickey Washburn picks up the win in Heat 3A. And Mickey, it's been a solid night. And you go out there and do exactly what you need to do to lock yourself into the final.
Yeah, that was I needed that win there. That feels good. Everybody here is very good drivers, so whenever you get to be on top of one of these heats, it feels really good.
Yeah, it's got to feel good. But tonight, it really feels like the gloves have come off. I've already seen a couple of boats make contact. I think the season, or the pressure of the season, starting to get to a few folks as we near the end of it, starting with the second half next year.
Yeah, it's getting pretty competitive. A lot of us in real life come to this race, and we all want to win Tri-Cities. So I think a lot of guys are going for it tonight pretty hard.
All right, Mickey, congratulations. Good luck the rest of the night.
Thanks, Daryl.
Heat 3B coming up next. Heat 3B, you're ready to roll. Here are your starters. And this is what they need to do to get into the final. Start with Jay Zadrowski, the U19 House of Color, currently sitting in the 6th spot by virtue of a win and a second place of the qualifying 12th. He's on 740 points. A win or a top half finish should be enough to keep him in the front line of the final. Carson Kelly, the Seaway Marine. Things look to be going well for him, and then the flip. Put him out in the race. He needs to win, and then he will need some help after that to stay on the front line of the final, but a win would guarantee him at least a trailer spot. Tyler Sams next in the Miss Sam's Cola. Tyler, 368 points. Is trying to make his way into the Connie spot, but only a win is going to do that. Sorry, not the Connie spot, the trailer boat on the final, but only a win is going to do that for him. Tim Johnson, the U50 Miss Tri-Cities, is in the same boat. A win and only a win is what he needs. Actually, needs to finish in first or second to guarantee himself, or not guarantee, put himself in the trailer position, but then he's going to need help. And Neil Dismang, the U92 Dutch Bros, in the 17th spot, win or he's done. That is the simple math for the U92 tonight. So a lot of win and you're in scenarios here in this heat. A couple of drivers that can get a top 2 finish, but those 400 points are really the only thing that's going to matter to these drivers, because whoever gets them, they're going to be more than likely heading some form or fashion into the final here at the Columbia Cup. This is usually the race that a lot of the Saturday Night Hydroplane League drivers and community members meet up for every year. It's always a fun time, and hopefully one of these days I'll be able to get out there and see it with them. But for now, we're going to run this Heat 3B, and we are close to the score up as they come through turn number 2. They're all early, though. So you're going to see a big park job. I think actually the Miss Sam's Cole has decided he's going to go around. And the House of Color is as well. So Tim Johnson and Carson Kelly are going to try to roll the dice here and think that they are in a good spot to where they don't have to go back around. So you're now 10 seconds. Make that 5 seconds to the score up. Make that 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. And it's the Dutch Bros of Neil Dismang. Where did he come from? He's got a great launch. He should be able to get over into lane number 2, heading into turn number 1. Tyler Sam's going to be in lane number 3. Tim Johnson is in 1, and meanwhile, the big losers are Carson Kelly and Jay Sadrowski. They're going to be on the outside of this thing. So it's Neil Dismang, of all drivers, who needed something to happen, and he's trying to make it happen here. So Neil will get lane number 2. Tyler Sams will be in lane number 3. Tim Johnson in lane number 1. Lanes 4 and 5 are going to go to Carson Kelly and Jay Sadrowski. The speed is on the outside of the course. We're going to be watching lanes 4 and 5 during this heat. Can Tyler Sams, can Neil Dismang, can they play spoiler here as Neil's going to get away first? There is the House of Color, Jay Sadrowski, big run around the outside. Neil Dismang, though, is going to get through. Actually, no, Dismang pulls his foot. Tim Johnson's going to get around there first as there are 8 seconds until the go. Make that 6 seconds. Make it 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mark, and we got at least one gun jumper. Tim Johnson, Jay Sadrowski had the speed, but he jumped the gun. As we head into turn number 1, he's going to get lane number 1, and Jay Sadrowski is your only gun jumper. So your leader currently is Tim Johnson in the U50 Miss Tri-Cities. Carson Kelly's in the second spot. This is going to help his effort at trying to get into the final. It's Tim Johnson, though, in lane number 2, is in position number 1 as he makes his way towards turn number 2 for the first of 3. So Jay Sadrowski on the outside tried to make something happen. Did not work. And now we're going to have to check the math to see where he will be as far as the final. Neil Dismang gave it a ride, was unable to hold on to the spot. He's back there in third spot. You can see him there inside lane number 1 as Tim Johnson has lane number 2. He's pushing to the outside Carson Kelly, who's in second. Johnson makes his way around turn number 1. Got that wake of the U19 to his inside. To his outside is the Seaway Marine. But Tim Johnson has a lot of speed, shown a lot of it in qualifying, has a perfect night on his record. Actually, 2 perfect nights on his record. Actually, no, I think he only has the 1 perfect night. I'm sorry. And it was here at Tri-Cities. Makes his way down to turn number 2. He's going to ease it around the corner. He can just let the House of Color go, run his own race. Tim Johnson may be in with a shot of a spot in the final. As Tim currently was 15th, he wins this race. He'll end up jumping to the trailer spot, and then he has to hope. But for now, Tim Johnson leads. Carson Kelly in the Seaway Marine, he's second. Neil Dismang's going to be in the third spot, trying to hold off Tyler Sams there in the Miss Sam's Cola as they head into turn number 1. But back up front, Tim Johnson, the U50. Needed a walk-off to have a chance to get to the final, and I think he's going to get it as long as he stays out of any trouble heading into turn number 2. He's got no one around him, a huge 400 points in front of him as the U19 makes its way around. The Alice of Color is going to come across the line first, but he's going to drop down to 5th, while Tim Johnson, he is 2nd. He'll be elevated to the win in Heat 3B and put himself in the trailer position for the final. Carson Kelly is going to come across the line in 2nd. Tyler Sams will pick up 3rd at 225 points. Dismang is going to ease that boat around for 4th. The U92 Dutch Bros going to pick up the 4th spot as he comes across start-finish line now. There are your results. Penultimate heat is coming up, but first, I'm going to speak with Tim Johnson, the winner of Heat 3B. Tim Johnson picks up the win in Heat 3B. And Tim, you needed a walk-off to give yourself a shot at the final. You got that walk-off. Now the waiting begins.
Yeah, it would have been nice to put myself in a better position going into that heat, but got the win. Good for high points. Now I just got to hope that things fall my way in the next 2 heats and I can make it into the final.
Yeah, you need to get into that final to keep up with Cy Bone, who's got the 2,761 point lead. But tonight, a solid night, good points day, heading in to wrap up the 2024 portion of the season, with Seattle coming up next.
Yep, looking forward to a good race in Seattle. Really appreciate all you do, Daryl.
Thanks, Tim. Congratulations, good luck, and hopefully we'll see you in the final.
Thanks.
Heat 3C coming up next. penultimate race of the evening. Now heading out onto the water, Heat 3C, or penultimate qualifying race, rather. These are your starters. This is what they need to do to get into the final. Scott Przybylski and U8 Mr. Pringles. A win would secure him a spot at this point. That would bump Carson Kelly down to 5th. That would bump Tim Johnson down to the trailer spot and bump DJ Miller temporarily out of the final. Przybylski picked up the win. Actually, it would knock DJ Miller out because DJ Miller is also in this heat. Scott Przybylski currently sitting on 555 points. Przybylski had a second and third after a 13th place qualifying effort. Meanwhile, Jeff DeWalt in the U31 Mopar. DeWalt sitting at 630 points. A win would put him on the front line of the final. Actually, a finish in the top half would get him there. So first or a second is what Jeff DeWalt is looking for. Kellen Washburn 3D Race Boats. A win and only a win would put him as the, actually, a win would not get him to the trailer. He is out, so he's racing for pride in this heat. And DJ Miller, DC Presents Deft, currently sitting 7th by virtue of running this late into the heats. However, he just needs a decent finish in the top 3, and he should still be in the final. So that's your lineup. You've got a couple of drivers with comfortable spots, 2 drivers that got to go all out, and then 1 driver in Cal Washburn who could play spoiler here by picking up a big spot to the detriment of someone else. We've already seen the chaos start to grow here as we're getting closer and closer to that Columbia Cup final. As Cal Washburn makes his way to the outside. Meanwhile, Scott Przybylski has got a full head of steam hanging down towards turn number 1. Jeff DeWalt cruises down towards turn number 2. You're right along with him now in the U31 Mopar. He's got 1 boat in front of him. That's DC Presents Deft of DJ Miller. It's had a solid night so far. Looking for another heat race win. He got a boat way around the outside making speed. That should be... That's Kellen Washburn there. Did not get a good look at that boat. And it is Scott Przybylski and the Mr. Pringles. So they hit the line about 11 seconds until the pin. Make that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 mark. Przybylski and Washburn have to go to the outside. But it was a great start for DJ Miller and Jeff DeWalt there in 1 and 2. They will be in 1 and 2. With Callum Washburn there in lane number 3. Miller and DeWalt make their way down the back straightaway, heading down towards the commitment pin with DeWalt up front, but not enough to get lane number 1 away. And we are missing Elijah Smith from this heat. He's going to be a scratch at this point. As Miller and the U31 of Jeff DeWalt are going to be in lanes 1 and 2. And we could be on the precipice of seeing Jeff DeWalt in the final here if he can hold on to second place. Callum Washburn's out in lane number 3. Scott Przybylski is going to be in lane number 4. As DJ Miller brings the field around the turn, getting ready for the start of Heat 3C, rather. It's going to turn him loose for the penultimate time here in the qualifying heats at 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. And it's a great start for Jeff DeWalt and Scott Przybylski. DeWalt out there in second there in lane number 2. Przybylski has the lead, though. He's out there in lane number 4. And Jeff DeWalt comes into the turn. He's going to be second. Can he hold on to the spot as DJ Miller's going to challenge him off turn number 1? Now DeWalt eases down. He's going to make the run run tough for DJ Miller as they head down the back straightaway here in lap 1 of 3. But now Scott Brisbane is going to pull away. Jeff DeWalt's in second. So he gets swallowed up now into the third spot. So now he's going to be in the tunnel. Gets onto the wake of the U8. Manages to hold on to it, though. They're on the inside. But if they go to start lap number 2, it's going to be Scott Przybilski and Mr. Pringles leading the way. DJ Miller's in second, and Jeff DeWalt in the third spot. But he is one spot away from guaranteeing himself into the final. DeWalt gets a great turn through turn number 1. He's going to draw even with Scott Przybilski and temporarily move in front of him as they head down the back straightaway. But Scott Przybilski's got more speed on the outside. It's DeWalt, it's Przybilski. It's a spot on the front line in the final at stake. DJ Miller up front. He wins that race. He's going to be on the front line of the final, no problem. But it's between DeWalt and Przybilski to get the other spot. Into turn number 2 now. Jeff DeWalt continuing to hold tough. Gets onto the wake of the U1. Kicks him to the outside. Manages to hold on, though. Clings tight to the left side spots of the U8. But up front, DJ Miller has the lead and is looking to take one more win before he gets himself into the final. But back up front, unfortunately, Jeff DeWalt, that spot in the final might be slipping. He's a rooster tailed back, gets into the way, gets to the outside, and that's going to do it, I think, for the Jeff DeWalt hopes of the final. He's going to fall back to third. DJ Miller's got the lead. And while all that excitement was happening behind him, DJ Miller has just been on a Saturday night cruise for 400 points and looking to be on the front line of the final. Miller heads into turn number 2. No one around him. 400 points in front of him. He hits the start-finish line and hits the exit pin at turn number 2. Heads to the start-finish line and takes the win in Heat 3C. Scott Przybilski will be second, Jeff DeWalt third, and Callum Washburn will come across the line for fourth. So there are your results. We will now check the score sheet to see what this means for DJ Miller, Mickey Washburn, for DJ Miller and Jeff DeWalt. So DJ Miller joins us, the winner of Heat 3C. DJ, the excitement seemed to be behind you. The race between the U8 and the U31 to get that second spot. But for you, you pick up 400 points, head into the final as the 2 seed, and it's got to feel good heading into the final, have another chance for a win.
Yeah, really good, clean night. It's the most you can ask for. You know, I didn't really push in that first heat against Cy because, you know, what's the point of risking wrecking in the first heat when I can just take the second? Consider myself pretty lucky to have some favorable heat draws on my side tonight. Like, went into that heat, you know, already down a boat because Elijah was a scratch, which happens. You lose people as the night goes on. So that just makes everything, you know, there's less pressure on you in that sort of situation.
Well, it's got to feel good. You said there you didn't push hard in that first heat, but going into the final, how do you slow down the Cy Bowen train?
I mean, I got lane 1 from him in the first heat. He just beat me at the start, so I got to hit the start a little bit better, and after that, there's 5 laps to decide it. So it's whoever's the better driver on the day at that point.
Well, we'll see what happens. DJ, congratulations. Good luck in the final.
Yeah, thank you, Daryl.
So with those results, DJ Miller, second, locks himself into the final. DJ Miller winning that race also locked Cy Bowen into the final. Carson Kelly on 900 points is still in the front line. Jay Sadrowski, 867 points, still in the front line of the final. Scott Przybylski, currently the trailer. However, their positions are pending the results in Heat 3D, as the winner of this heat will make the final. And we could take as many as 2 from this final, depending on how things shake out. So sit tight. Heat 3D coming up next. And you're not going to want to miss it. Last qualifying heat of the night, Heat 3D. These are your starters. This is what they need to do to get into the final. Cy Bowen, U17 Rockbot. He's already there. He's racing here to extend his national high points advantage heading into the final. Cy's had a great night on 980 points. Qualified the second and has won all 2 of his qualifying heats so far to be on 980 points. Mikey Callaway pulled off the shock win in Heat 2D. Another win would get him on the front line of the final. A second would get him on the front line of the final. Nick Kish, the Easton Eagle. Nick currently sitting in the 14th spot on 555 points. Top 2 finish would put him on the front line of the final. We were supposed to have a 4th boat of Mekhi Burgess. He has withdrawn. So this will be a triple threat match to decide, really, between Nick Kish and Mikey Callaway, who's going to be on the front line of the final. And for Mikey Callaway, it's going to be looking at the points. A second would still put him on the front line of the final by 5 points over Carson Kelly, who would be jumped down to 6. Jay Sadrowski would then be pushed down to the trailer spot, and Scott Przybylski would be done for the evening. Nick Kish, he has to win to be on the front line. If he finishes second, he would tie Scott Przybylski, and that tiebreaker would go to qualifying, and Przybylski holds the tiebreaker. So that is where we are as far as the scenarios to get into the final here. And now, as they come around turn number 2, with about 11 seconds to go, Mikey Callaway's leading the way. Cy Bowen's there on the outside. We are 5 seconds until the gun. Make that 3 seconds. 2, 1, mark. And Mikey Callaway's going to play it safe here. Let Cy Bowen get up front. Let Cy Bowen probably take lane number 1. Mikey Callaway, remember, all he has to do is finish second. So his race is with the U90. Callaway's going to jump out into lane number 2. We know what Nick Kish is going to do. We'll just try to get the run around the outside. So it'll be Bowen in 1, Callaway 2, Nick Kish in 3, and Katie bar the door at that front straightaway. It's going to be electric. So Cy Bowen makes his way down to the commitment pin. He'll get lane number 1. Mikey Callaway and Nick Kish start getting their boats in order for this run. They make their way around they make their way around turn number 1. Turn number 2. Getting ready to make their way around turn number 2. Cy Bowen now on the pedal. Here comes Mikey Callaway. How much does Mikey Callaway want to challenge this? Does he want to go for the win, or does he want to get the 300 points? Callaway, I think, has made that decision. He's going to go for the win. There are 8 seconds to the start. Make that 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. And at Callaway jumped that start. Mikey Callaway jumped the start. He didn't need to do that, and now he's going to be third, and it may not be enough to get him into the final. Meanwhile, Nick Kish is second, but he's got to get one more spot. I'm going to quickly try and crunch some numbers here. That third might still be enough. So Mikey Callaway may be okay, but for Cy Bowen, it's basically a 3-lap test session now to get ready for the final, as the boat closest to him in competition jumped the start, and Nick Kish did not get a great start. He's trapped in third. So Bowen makes his way around the course, is stretched out into a boat parade now pretty quickly. As the estimation on the math, Mikey Callaway should have 930 points would be enough to get him on that front line of the final. But for Bowen, this 400 points is going to guarantee it. And not only that, it's going to yet again extend his national high points buffer over Harley Gray. As Bowen comes off turn number 2, we are running out of expletives to explain how well this season has gone as we start the final lap, with the Rockbot leading, the Belltown Hydro in second, and the Eastern Eagle in third. Bowen makes his way into turn number 1. He'll be followed by Callaway, then Kish. As Bowen, you can see the canard there in the center. It is pretty well neutral, not pushing this boat. Doesn't really need to, as the winds have really tapered off here tonight. As Bowen heads into turn number 2 on a Saturday night cruise to prepare himself for the final. The U-17 will come through turn number 2 with no one around him and 400 points in front of him. The U-17, the Rockbot, takes the win, extends his lead in the national high points, and clinches a spot in the final. Mikey Callaway comes across the line. He's going to get credit with third. And second's going to go to Nick Kish. So for Callaway, we wait. And for Cy Bowen, it's another 400 points to his tally. The finals coming up next. We'll have who's in it in just a moment. Cy Bowen picks up the win. Inside, there was some agendas going on there with drivers trying to make their way into the final. So for that, it felt more like a 3-lap test session for this upcoming race here in just a moment.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think everybody kind of however it felt. I think Nick had to win there to get into the final. Mikey could have finished first or second to get in the final, and then we were already locked in. So it was trying to just go with the flow, trying to finish the race and get ready for this final that should be a good one. Hopefully everything goes clean and we can come out alive.
Was there anything else you could have gleaned into that final? I mean, your boat's pretty well hooked up, but was there anything else that you learned there to come into the 5-lap final that's about to happen now?
Not really. I mean, there's kind of just goes, everything changes per heat. This final, you're going to have the fastest guys of the night in it, and it should be a good one. Some of us haven't raced together at all tonight, so it'll be fun to kind of see how things shake up.
All right, Cy, congratulations. Good luck in the Columbia Cup final.
Thank you.
So after 3 qualifying heats, Cy Bowen, 1,380 points. Harley Gray, 1,200. DJ Miller, 1,170. Mickey Washburn, 1,085. Mikey Callaway, 930. Carson Kelly, 900. Those will be your 6 on the front line. Jay Sadrowski, 867. He survives to be on the Connie. Or sorry, not on the Connie, as the trailer, excuse me. Scott Prispilski, your first man out. Coming up next, 6-mile-an-hour winds for the final. We go 5 times around to decide the winner in the Columbia Cup, and it is next. Seven boats, 5 laps. Let's turn them loose one more time to decide a Columbia Cup champion. Mickey Washburn. Oh, there's a little bit of hang up there with Jay Sadrowski and DJ Miller. Oh, DJ just landed on top of Jay Sadrowski now. And these are the trials and tribulations of online gaming here. I don't think there was anything really intentional there. They just hit the button at the same time to come out on the water, and they ended up spawning inside of each other. Thankfully, both boats are separated, and now the last mill of the night begins. So we turn them loose one last time. Mickey Washburn making his way down the back straightaway, but Harley Gray up front. In this race, you've got the top 3 principals in the battle for the championship. Mickey Washburn trying to Mickey Washburn and Harley Gray, they're trying to jump over Tim Johnson, who didn't make this final. Then they'll be in the next in line for that wide gulf between them and Cy Bowen. A win would chip away at that gap and put one of them in that second spot. But you've also got to survive the first lap. I think something's going on with the U19. There's some sort of issue with the U19. We're going to monitor that because we can't get that fixed. That's going to promote a driver to the front line, which would be... Well, no, we would just get the alternate. Sorry, that would not promote anyone to the front line. My apologies. But there's something going on with the U19. Now he gets out onto the water. So whatever the issue was, it seems to have been resolved. Now, DJ Miller and Cy Bowen, they've met together once this evening. DJ Miller was able to get lane 1 away from Cy, but Cy was able to win the race at the start. What can Cy Bowen do now? Is it looks like he may be forced out into lane number 3 between the Seaway Marine and DC Presents Depth. Now Mickey Washburn in the Miss Coca-Cola. Going to make his way around and try to draw the drivers up early, but I don't think it's going to happen. But Mickey's going to get himself in a good spot here to make this run to the score-up line. As Jay Sadrowski, he's going to have to come in behind them. As meanwhile, DJ Miller going to be the first around the corner. They're going to follow. They're going to be chasing down Mickey Washburn as they are 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. Mark! Good score-up. Fight for lanes begins, and Mickey Washburn's out there in lane number 1. He's going to lose that spot probably to DJ Miller as the boats to his outside should be able to shift over one as they go into turn number 1, and they will. Mickey Washburn's going to have to go to the outside. He navigates that cleanly, or somewhat cleanly. Cy Bowen's going to end up in lane number 3. Lane number 2 is going to go to Carson Kelly, 1 to DJ Miller. And on the outside is going to be Mikey Callaway, Harley Gray, and Mickey Washburn. So they get to the commitment pin. Miller in 1. Kelly in 2. Bowen in 3. Callaway 4. 5 should be Mickey Washburn. Actually, Mickey Washburn will be out in 6. And Harley Gray will be out in 5. So, DJ Miller, for the second time, gets lane 1 away from Cy Bowen. But last time, Cy Bowen won the race on the start. Cy's going to get a good start this time. DJ Miller was a little bit tardy. But he manages to get on plane at the same time. Mickey Washburn's on the outside. Should be the first one to the starting line as to get ready to turn him loose in the Columbia Cup final. We're under 10 seconds to the start. Make that 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1, mark! And DJ Miller gets beaten to the start-finish line again by Cy Bowen, but it's going to be closer as Bowen is out there in lane number 3. They got Carson Kelly in between them as they head towards the start-finish line. It was also a good start by Carson Kelly. Bowen has the lead. Can DJ Miller hold it? Can DJ Miller take the lead away? He will not there. He will stay in second, but it will be deck to deck as we go around 5 times. Bowen, lane number 3. Miller, lane number 1. Miller said in that first race he let him go. He's not going to let him go this time as it's the race of the Columbia Cup final. But they got Carson Kelly there on the inside. They've got to give him space as DJ Miller, through turn number 2, is going to take the lead. So Miller has the lead. Carson Kelly's going to move Cy Bowen out to second as he muscles him out there. As we start lap number 2, it's Miller, Kelly, then Bowen as they make contact and head down towards turn number 1. Not sure if Carson did that on purpose or they just got closed up there, but it's going to be between DJ and Carson now for the lead. Through turn number 2, looking how close is Carson Kelly. He's there on the wake of the U1. DC presents Def. DJ Miller looking to pick up a win here this season in his second start of the year, but Carson Kelly is flying down the backstretch, trying to chase him down. Miller going to lead him into turn number 2. We ride along now with Carson Kelly, and he is right there, giving DJ Miller a right side mirror full of Seaway Marine. This white, red, and blue boat. In second, Carson Kelly driving with a broken hand. You wouldn't know it. As we start lap number 3, he is right there with DJ Miller. Cy Bowen has fallen off the back of these two. He's going to be in third. Meanwhile, Nick Kish, something's happened to him. He is out of it by Mikey Calloway's 4th, Harley Gray 5th. Mickey Washburn is in 6th. Back up front now, DJ Miller. We're watching DJ Miller and Carson Kelly battle it out. Miller has now stretched it out to about half a rooster tail. Carson Kelly, though, has got some speed there on the outside. He's going to draw in by a couple of boat lengths. But Carson Kelly's got to find a way to push DJ Miller to the to the outside. As right now, with DJ Miller sitting on the inside, he can make Carson go the long way around, make him take an extra boat length through the turns each time. Should be enough for DJ Miller to pick up his first win of the year as we start the championship laps. DC presents Deft leads the way. Seaway Marine is in second. Rockbot is in third. As we head into turn number 1, Carson Kelly still hanging tough there with the U1. This is not a done deal by any stretch of the imagination. As Kelly still has speed, and Miller trying to wrestle that boat here in the 6-mile-an-hour winds. As Kelly holds on, gets a lot of air under those sponsons, but manages to keep it on the water. DJ Miller's also got that right sponson hanging loose as they head into turn number 2. Miller missed the first 3 races of the season after an infraction. There's a boat upside down. I think that was Mikey Calloway. Missed the first 3 races of the season due to a rules infraction after winning the championship. He has not lost a lick of speed, though, as we start the final lap. As now Carson Kelly's going to get to the inside. That's exactly where he needed to go. But now DJ Miller, he's going to have to hold a lane in there. Here comes the Seaway Marine. He's going to gain about 3 boat lengths. DJ Miller's got to find speed here. He held the Seaway Marine tight. Now, Carson Kelly, he's got to let it all hang out down this back straightaway and get the best turn 2 possible. As DJ Miller's let the 66 to the inside, this will be a drag race to the finish. Now into turn 2. Here comes Carson Kelly. He misses the U11. He makes his way through turn number 2. Now he jumps his way to the outside, and DJ Miller is going to hold on and take the win in the SNHL Columbia Cup. Carson Kelly gave it a ride, but it wasn't enough. Cy Bowen will come across the line in third. Picks up another podium in his fight for the championship. Harley Gray comes across for 4th. And 5th will be Mickey Washburn in the U9 Miss Coca-Cola. So DJ Miller, he lost the battle in the first heat of the night. He wins the war in the final, taking the win in the SNHL Columbia Cup. We will hear from our podium. Cy Bowen, though, is going to extend his points lead as he finishes in front of Harley Gray and Mickey Washburn. But in the race for the Columbia Cup, it was DJ Miller's night. But Carson Kelly gave it a ride, just could not get to the inside. Or he got to the inside, but just could not make it stick. And Mikey Calloway being upside down there may have been the challenge. May have been what saved DJ Miller and got him the Columbia Cup win. Our podium has been assembled. And we will start with our national high points leader, Cy Bowen. Came into the race first. He will end third. And Cy, you extend the national high points lead to 3,295 points. Has got to feel good, even though you only come home with third.
Oh yeah, I knew that me sitting out there in lane 3 was not the ideal spot for us. Of course, we can run around these guys, but Carson and DJ, both of them from lane 3 is a tough task. I know that individually, if I was in lane 2 and one of them in lane 1, I probably could have drove around them, but they drove a fantastic race. I tried my best to hold them in tight there, and me and Carson hit coming off of turn 2, and it kind of was it for me. I got to watch a good battle, though. Front row seat for that. That last lap between those two, almost hitting that dead boat. And so, yeah, I mean, we can't be mad. We came off still with the most points for the night, extending our lead and just feeling a little bit more comfortable going in to the championship. And, yeah, we can't be mad.
Yeah, what happened there with the contact with you and Carson Kelly?
You know, I don't really know. I haven't had the chance to go look at it. I think it's just close racing. Nobody's really at fault for that thing. We're all battling for a final win, trying to run DJ down. So it is what it is. There was no harm done. Like, there was nothing malicious about it. Just a little bit of contact and sent us out a couple lanes and screwed us. But I mean, Carson was able to go up there and race DJ for the win.
Well, Cy, congratulations on the third, and we'll see you next time out in Seattle.
Yep, thank you for streaming it.
So that is Cy Bowen, the driver of the U17 Rockbot, takes third here, but extends the national high points lead heading into Seattle. And next up is Carson Kelly. Going to step up on the podium in second. While unofficially, well, we'll see if the points have actually been put in before I say this. They just put the points in. It doesn't get you out of the hole in the national high points title yet. It was a fantastic night. You came one lap from picking up the win. Talk about that final turn.
Yeah, that final turn, I was like, one last hope, and came out of the corner, and I knew he was going to square it off. So I just dove through the wrister tail and hoped that I could get a run on him all the way to the start finish, and I couldn't. But I'm going to give myself props for running him down that whole race. But yeah, it was good heat, good final.
Yeah, you did not let him go at all. But that Mikey Callaway, I believe that was the boat that was upside down there in turn number 2, really in the lane you needed to try to get that done. Did that affect your exit out of turn 2 at all?
A little bit, because one, it kind of slowed me down, and 2, because he had a wider angle to come in on me and square off the corner. So at that point, I was like, screw it, and I just dove through the wrister tail and didn't really work out. But I don't know, just a heck of a heat.
Well, Carson, congratulations, and good luck next time out.
Thank you.
So Carson Kelly picks up second place, and now we'll interview our SNHL Columbia Cup winner, DJ Miller. DC presents Deft. DJ, you lost the battle in the first heat of the night to Cy Bowen, actually in Heat 1B, but you win the war in the final.
Yeah, that's what it's all about right there. That was, at least for the first couple laps, that was me, Carson, and Cy in a triple decker. I can't wait to see how that all looked on the stream, because, you know, from my perspective, I'm just going by what my spotter's telling me. All I have to do is look forward. But that was an awesome battle. Carson definitely kept me honest. I kept pushing it all 5 of those laps. He would gain a bit at the end of the straightaways, and I'd pull him in the corners, and then I don't even know who that was upside down in the turn, but that got pretty hairy on that last lap, especially trying to avoid the dead boat.
I think that was Mikey Callaway that was upside down.
Yeah, it was a black boat. I know that, so it stood out. But not everyone, you know. The whole story of the season was, you know, who's gonna beat Cy, and then, here I come back in onto the tour and get a dub. So I'm happy. It was a really fun battle.
Yeah, and that was really fun watching three of the fastest drivers out here go, as the British will say, hammer and tongs for 5 laps. It's got to feel a lot of fun, and it's going to make the second half of this season really exciting.
Yeah, and it was, as far as I'm aware, completely clean heat. I was, we were talking in the waiting room. I was real worried about swinging out and hosing Carson in between me and Cy, and they were trying to leave me room, and Cy was trying to leave room for 2 boats, and it's such a hard balancing act when you got 3 guys all going for it. But we made it through clean, and I ended up being the one coming out on top, so feels really good.
All right, DJ, congratulations and good luck next time out in Seattle.
Yep, thank you, Daryl, and thanks for the stream. I actually heard my family cheering in the other room because they were watching it live. So it was fun.
Yeah, well, congratulations. Good luck in Seattle.
Yep, thank you.
So here are your results of the final. The 2 DNFs were Jay Sadrowski and Mikey Callaway. They flipped in back-to-back laps. Jay Sadrowski, lap 2, turn 1, and Mikey Callaway was the stricken boat upside down on lap number 3. Of your finishers, 4th place goes to Harley Gray, just off the podium, and as you heard, Cy Bowen, Carson Kelly, and DJ Miller finished 3rd through 1st, and Mickey Washburn finishes in position number 5. What that means for the Saturday Night Hydroplane League Division 1 point standings: the Rockbot leads, Cy Bowen, 8,557 points. 3,295 points behind him is Mickey Washburn and Miss Coca-Cola. The Dream Warrior, presented by Lucas Oil, is 3rd, 3,308 points back. The Miss Tri-Cities of Tim Johnson is 4th, 3,386 points back. And the Mr. Pringles, Scott Prisbilski, 3,538 points back in 5th. In the battle to stay out of the relegation zone, Nick Kish, Carson Kelly, the gap between them, 58 points, as Levi Colley is now dropped below them, as well as Colley is officially in the drop zone. So that will wrap it up for tonight. Actually, in the drop zone is Levi Colley on 1,675 points, and then Quentin Miller, Eddie Canfouche, and Bo Rarick, who have all qualified but have yet to actually make a lap in racing action. So that will do it from here in virtual Kennewick, Washington. DJ Miller is the winner of the SNHL Columbia Cup. Next time out will be in Seattle in the new year, the SNHL Rainier Cup at Seafair, January 11th, 2025 in Seattle, Washington. Pre-race will start at 6:30. Heat 1 will start at 7. Well, that'll wrap it up from here. My name is Daryl Kinsey Jr., the host of the Saturday Night Hydroplane League. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time in Seattle. Good night, everyone.